powerful winter storm slamming much of the Midwest and creating travel chaos, really, as it moved.
Oh my God! What is that? Oh my God!
Millions of Americans got stuck solid on icy highways right after Thanksgiving 2025. Cars sliding all over, blizzard winds howling, horns blaring in the freezing night. All across the country, this wasn't just one bad night. It felt like something bigger was starting. Some folks call it weird weather. Others whisper with worry. Is this just bad luck? Or the first knock on the door of an age that's about to end? The air feels heavy. Every minute a reminder that the clock is running out. In less than 10 days, America saw at least 7 strange things happen at the same time in 7 different areas: sky, earth, oceans, and people. Nothing like this bunching up has ever been recorded before. When they all sound off together, it's not coincidence anymore. It's a clear message. Mankind has stepped into the last days, just like the prophecies said 2,000 years ago. Storms that move like they know where they're going. Sea creatures nobody's ever seen popping up at both ends of the planet at once. Mysterious trumpet sounds echoing all over the U.S., leaving millions stunned. It's like drumbeats of warning, telling us the final moment is close, that every choice and every second might be the last one that counts. The Bible tells us in Matthew 24:33, "When you see all these things happening, know that the Son of Man is near, right at the door." Those words ring down through the years, reminding us we can't ignore the signs. Each strange event is another piece of the puzzle, another wake-up call that the door of grace is still open, but the time left to walk through it is getting shorter every day. From far off, these might look like random problems, but put them together and they form one long chain no normal science or logic can explain. Heaven, earth, the seas, and human society itself are all groaning in the same warning song. Mankind is standing on the edge of history, and this time, there's no more room to wait or doubt. And today, you and I are going to take this journey together to look at the 7 strange signs happening all across America right now, proof that the prophecies are coming true and that humanity is running out of time to turn things around. Are you ready? Don't skip a single sign, because one of them might just save you later. Let's start with 1. The storms got wild right after Thanksgiving 2025. Just days after Thanksgiving 2025, a massive storm ripped through the middle of the country, stronger than anything most folks had ever seen. The strange thing was how it kept changing direction, almost like it knew what it was doing. Huge spiral funnels dropped out of nowhere, flash freezing roads and cars in seconds. Can you picture it? Vehicles sliding all over the place, trees getting yanked out of the ground, and wind screaming like it wanted to tear everything apart. The radar showed weird patterns, but you had to see it with your own eyes to feel how alive that storm seemed. It wasn't just moving, it was searching, testing people. Billboards flying through the air, roofs shaking, the whole scene terrifying and amazing at the same time. Folks watching from a safe distance couldn't help but shiver at a force of nature that big. The Bible talks plenty about God speaking through storms. Nahum 1:3 says, "The Lord roars from Zion and thunders from Jerusalem." Rain, storms, lightning, that's His voice. These storms aren't random. They're living messages, reminding us there's power way beyond anything we can control. It's how He got the attention of Egypt and Nineveh long ago. Storms are His way of warning and shaking people up. Job 38:1 says, "The Lord answered Job out of the storm." Even when you're safe inside your house or car, that storm still roars like a wake-up call, letting you know His power is everywhere. Have you felt it? It's not just regular thunder. It's direct, loud, and makes your heart stop and listen. There was almost no time to react. In just minutes, the temperature dropped below freezing, and anything you tried to do against it felt useless. Those funnels, those fierce winds, the instant ice, it all worked together like it was saying, We're standing on the edge of something huge. This is a warning. Not everything is an accident. It's on purpose. Proof of God's unlimited power. The storm wasn't just weather. It was a scary reminder that we can't ignore the signs. Every swirl of wind, every tree ripped up, every sheet of ice on the road, it's all part of a living message from above. Pay attention, listen close, and understand, these storms are the first knock on the door, opening a new chapter, a warning about the last days the Bible talked about thousands of years ago. 2. Mysterious, human-like creatures discovered beneath the ocean. Right after that thinking storm passed through, something else showed up that left the whole world stunned. Out in the Pacific, off the California coast, these strange sea creatures came to the surface. They had pale white bodies, long heads, and curved tails, like mermaids. They weren't just swimming around randomly. They stayed still and watched, their eyes looking like they were studying and judging every living thing nearby. A cold, dead silence fell over everything, like the ocean was holding its breath. And it didn't stop there. At the exact same time, thousands of miles away in the Mediterranean Sea near Israel, the very same kind of creatures showed up. The timing matched so perfectly, it was hard to believe. Scientists and people who saw it were speechless. This wasn't just one weird event anymore. Both ends of the known world in the Bible were seeing the same strange signs at the same moment. The Pacific and the Mediterranean seemed to be saying the same message together, the one nature itself wanted us to hear. The Bible talks about God's power over the seas. Isaiah 27:1 warns about Leviathan, that huge monster that rules the deep, and says the Lord will one day kill it. In that day, the Lord, with his hard and great and strong sword, will punish Leviathan, the fleeing serpent, Leviathan, the twisting serpent, and he will slay the dragon that is in the sea. Revelation 13:1 also describes a beast rising out of the sea, standing for a power bigger than anything humans can understand. Doesn't it give you chills to see these mysterious creatures show up like living proof of those old prophecies? What's really scary is how they act. They don't swim away. They're not afraid of people. They just watch, judge, and wait. Some researchers tried to get close but couldn't. The photos and videos show their eyes glowing in a strange way, and their bodies moving smooth, but on purpose. This isn't just some biology thing. It's a message, a warning, that the oceans are joining in the last days the Bible talked about long ago. When you look at these creatures, you feel how helpless we really are before God's power. No matter how modern we get or how smart our science is, all of it looks small next to signs like these. It reminds us that nature, the seas, and even the creatures he made can become tools to judge and to warn. Every time they appear, every move they make feels like a quiet whisper. Wake up, people. See the power that's way beyond our control. If we don't, we'll miss our last chance to get ready. These creatures will sink back down and disappear like they were never here, but the message stays. Are you paying attention? Do you see what they're trying to tell us? They're reminding us the last days are getting close, and every minute that goes by is part of a countdown none of us can ignore. 3. The glowing ship standing still in the middle of the Oklahoma monster storm. Right in the heart of that huge Oklahoma superstorm, with the wind howling like crazy and rain slamming sideways, something strange showed up that left everybody stunned. The radar didn't pick up a thing, but people's own eyes and phone cameras caught it clear as day. A glowing ship just sitting there, perfectly still, in the middle of that terrible storm. When folks first saw that light flickering through the sheets of rain, their hearts started pounding, part curiosity, part straight-up fear. It didn't look like any normal boat. Sharp bows sticking out, tall masts reaching way up, the whole thing glowing like some mysterious ball of light right in the middle of the ocean of water and wind. It wasn't moving an inch, wasn't getting pushed around by the hurricane, just standing there like a living picture of something way beyond us. Everything else was getting torn apart, trees snapping, water rising, but that ship stayed proud and calm in a way that didn't make any sense. Job 38 talks about God answering Job right out of the storm. These pictures feel like they're showing that Bible verse in real life. That glowing ship parked in the middle of the chaos looks an awful lot like proof that he's right there with us, even when everything's falling apart. Revelation 4-6 talks about a sea of glass in front of God's throne, shining, perfectly calm, no matter what's going on around it. That's exactly what this looks like. God showing up in the middle of the storm. A few folks tried to get a little closer, staying safe, of course. They said the light almost seemed to breathe on its own, bright and shimmering, but it didn't hurt your eyes. It just pulled you in and made everybody go quiet. If you were standing there yourself, what do you think you'd feel? Scared, stiff, totally amazed? Or maybe that funny feeling that something holy is right in front of you and you can't quite put it into words? The wild part is the radar saw nothing, but regular eyes could see every detail. It's like the physical world can't measure God's power. Rain pouring, wind screaming, and that ship just sits there quiet, giving off this mysterious light. This wasn't some coincidence. It feels like a clear sign. God is speaking, and anybody who's really looking can see the message. When you see something like this, it sure reminds you how small we are next to the power of nature and the presence of God. Everything else is getting ripped to pieces by the storm, but that glowing ship is right there in the center, untouched. It's a reminder that He's here, and even when the whole world feels like it's coming apart, there's a supernatural calm spot that the people who pay attention get to notice. 4. Discovering a Middle Eastern jar buried for thousands of years. Out in the red desert of Sedona, Arizona, something happened that left archaeologists and everyone who saw it stunned. A team was digging around when they suddenly uncovered an ancient jar that had been hidden under the sand for thousands of years. When they lifted it up, there was this soft ringing sound, like a little bell, and it made everybody's heart beat faster. This wasn't just any old jar. Inside and around it were a small metal elephant statue, shiny green beads, rusty iron chains. None of it belonged to Native American cultures at all. Here was something straight out of the Middle East, sitting right in the middle of an American desert, like it had traveled across time and space. It's a reminder that ancient things can still speak to us today. It's not just an object. It's a message we're supposed to hear. The Bible talks about things being buried so they'll be safe for a later day. In Jeremiah 32-14, it says, "The Lord told the prophet, I've bought the field and buried the money in the ground, so that later, when everything is restored, I can prove I kept my promise." What happened in Sedona feels like that verse coming to life. Every little elephant, every green bead, every rusty chain seems to say that things buried for thousands of years can still come back exactly when they're meant to. Ezekiel 37 talks about dry bones coming back to life when God's breath blows on them. This old jar and everything with it feels like a modern version of that miracle. Things that seemed dead and forgotten suddenly wake up and speak. Doesn't it give you chills to think that lifeless objects can turn into living messages? Some of the people who were there said they felt a kind of energy run through them when they touched the jar. That bell-like ringing wasn't just a sound, it felt holy. It's almost like the jar is telling us nothing God made, no matter how deeply buried, is ever forgotten by Him. Every detail, the shape, the material, means something, showing that history and right now are tied together by God's endless power. When you look at this, you realize we can't predict or control everything. Time, space, and God's power are all at work. That Sedona jar isn't just some archaeological find. It's a warning and a reminder. Whatever God planned, even if it's been buried for ages, will come to light exactly when He says so. Look closely, listen, and feel the message that history and God are sending us through these simple but powerful signs. 5. Strange twin dragon tornadoes. Up in the Texas sky, something shocked the whole state. 2 tornadoes showed up perfectly in sync, spinning and moving side by side, like they were dancing to the same beat. These 2 waterspouts rose up from the ground, looking exactly alike, graceful yet fierce, like 2 witnesses coming down from heaven, to remind us of God's mighty power. What scared people even more was the sound they made. It wasn't thunder. It wasn't an airplane. It was the loud blast of a trumpet filling the sky and echoing everywhere. That trumpet sound reached every corner and made every living thing go quiet. It wasn't like any sound you've ever heard before. It felt like the heavens and earth were shaking, sending a direct message from God Himself. Revelation 11:3-6 talks about two witnesses who will speak God's word to the world. These two tornadoes moved together like a living picture of that prophecy. They showed God's power, warning us and proving that every prophecy is coming true right before our eyes. Their perfect timing made everyone who saw it shiver, knowing this wasn't just a normal storm. 1 Thessalonians 4:16 also mentions the final trumpet blast that will signal the great moment. The sound from these tornadoes can't be explained by science or nature. It was a supernatural sign telling people to wake up and get ready. Have you ever heard a sound that made your heart pound without knowing where it came from? This was one of those moments. The folks who saw it described the scene like a show put on by nature and God's power together. Wind, rain, the ground shaking, tornadoes spinning high, light shining off every drop of water. It all made a picture that was grand and terrifying at the same time. Nobody dared get close, but everyone knew they were standing in front of a sign of the last days, when nature and heaven meet. These twin tornadoes weren't just weather. They were a direct warning, reminding us that God's power has no limits. The trumpet sound was an extra reminder that time is running short, and anyone who isn't ready will miss their last chance for salvation. This event didn't just shake Texas. It was living proof of prophecies written thousands of years ago. See what I mean? Pay attention to every detail, every twist, every sound, because it all carries a message. These twin tornadoes, with their trumpet blast, aren't just something strange. They're a warning. The last days are very close, and we can't ignore these clear signs anymore. 6. An angel with wings spread wide, clearly seen right in the middle of the sky. During a fierce storm in California, with thunder and lightning crashing, and wind and rain tearing everything up, the sky suddenly lit up in a strange way. There, plain as day, was the shape of an angel, wings perfectly spread out, like it was wrapping its arms around the whole wild mess below. Folks who saw it felt scared and amazed at the same time. The light came from inside the clouds and showed every detail. Big, open wings, a glowing body that you could still see even through the thick clouds. No fancy camera or anything needed. Everybody there saw it clear as could be. It stayed perfectly still for a full 4 minutes, long enough to burn itself into people's minds forever. The pouring rain and howling wind didn't blur it one bit. If anything, they made it look even more mysterious and beautiful. The Bible talks about great signs in the sky, like in Luke 21:11. There will be great signs from heaven. What showed up over California wasn't just some weather trick. It felt like living proof of that promise. That angel looked like a reminder that God's power is always right there, even when everything feels upside down and crazy. Revelation 10:1 talks about a mighty angel standing with one foot on the sea and one on the land, holding an open scroll. This figure in the California sky brought that same feeling, huge, unshakable, watching over everything. It was like God saying, I see what's going on, and I'm still in charge. When you hear about that light shining out from inside the storm clouds, in the middle of the worst storm people had ever seen, doesn't it give you chills? The people who were there said the air felt heavy, but holy too. The rain and wind almost seemed to hush when the angel showed up. Everything else just faded into the background. They knew deep down this wasn't just nature doing its thing. It was God speaking straight to them, waking them up about the last days. Those 4 minutes went by fast, but they were long enough for that angel to stamp itself on everyone's heart. It was a reminder that God isn't limited by time or storms. When the storm finally started to calm down, the angel slowly faded away. But the message stayed. Pay attention. Wake up. It's not too late. Are you noticing? Are you feeling it in every beam of light? Every second that angel hung in the California sky was a warning. The last days are getting close, and we can't just look away from signs this clear. 7. The trumpet sound, echoing across America's sky. One morning, out of nowhere, a trumpet blast rang out all across the United States, from the East Coast clear to the West Coast, rolling into every city, every little town, every back alley. It was deep, powerful, and carried for miles, but it wasn't coming from planes, and it sure wasn't thunder. Did you hear it? It felt like heaven and earth were sounding one big holy alarm that nobody could explain. People recorded it, ran the sound through all kinds of tests, but science couldn't figure out where it came from or how it even happened. It broke every natural law we know. Folks tried to track down the source, yet the sound was everywhere at once, like it filled the whole sky. It shut people up and left them standing there stunned. That trumpet roared strong, grand, and honestly, a little scary. The Bible talks about a last trumpet that signals something huge. 1 Corinthians 15:52 says, "In a flash, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet, for the trumpet will sound, the dead will be raised." What millions heard that day sounds an awful lot like that very prophecy coming alive right in front of us. Folks who heard it knew deep down that the big moment was here, and they were right in the middle of something straight from God. Matthew 24:31 says, "When that final trumpet blows, the angels will gather God's chosen people." When that blast swept across America, it wasn't just noise. It was the Lord Himself talking loud and clear. Wake up. The last days are close. Did you feel the power of it hit your chest, make your heart pound, and jolt you wide awake? People who were there said everything got quiet. Birds, cars, even the wind seemed to stop and listen. That trumpet wasn't just sound. It was a supernatural wake-up call saying God's power is real, even in this crazy world. It made folks look up at the sky and ask themselves, where do I stand right now? And am I really ready? The sound lasted for minutes, every note burning itself into people's minds. It didn't sound like anything we've ever heard before, yet the message was crystal clear. Time's running out. The window to turn around, repent, and grab hold of salvation is getting real small. That trumpet across America wasn't some natural event. It was the final sign, showing that prophecies written thousands of years ago are happening right now, right in front of our eyes. Open your heart and really listen to every blast, every vibration. That trumpet is the last warning. The end times are knocking, and we'd better wake up before it's too late. This is the moment when all the signs come together, painting the very picture the Bible has been telling us about for centuries. While storms rage, strange creatures appear, angels are seen, and trumpet sounds echo all over. Everyday life in America just keeps rolling along like nothing's happening. Folks are still packing the malls, hunting Black Friday deals, scrolling TikTok for hours, acting like all these weird signs are just another news story. Have you noticed how crazy that is? The last days are getting close, but people are busy chasing things that don't last. The Bible warned us this would happen before the Lord comes back. People would be living just like in Noah's day. Matthew 24:37-39 says, "As it was in the days of Noah, people were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, right up to the day Noah entered the ark, and they knew nothing until the flood came and swept them all away." That's exactly what we're seeing in America today. Everybody's caught up in their regular routines, completely missing the big, obvious signs staring them in the face, not realizing time is running out fast with no way to get it back. Modern psychologists even have a name for it: disaster fatigue. When disasters keep coming, one after another, floods, hurricanes, earthquakes, supernatural stuff showing up all the time, people get numb. They start treating everything like it's normal. But spiritually, that's the most dangerous sign of all. Souls getting dull, no longer able to hear God's warnings. Look around. People are laughing, taking selfies in the rain, making TikTok videos, while tornadoes and huge storms tear things apart not far away. They're so busy they forget to look up at the sky or listen for anything out of the ordinary. Luke 17:28-30 says, "It was the same in the days of Lot. They were eating and drinking, buying and selling, planting and building. But on the day Lot left Sodom, fire and sulfur rained down from heaven. Our world today is doing the exact same thing. Busy, carefree, ignoring the final warnings. Don't you find that strange? On one side, nature and the supernatural are shouting warnings left and right. On the other side, people keep spinning in their daily grind. The end won't come with everyone suddenly terrified by storms and strange creatures and angels. It'll come when people are worn out, hardened, brushing off every warning like it's nothing. Take a good look at what folks are doing. Parties that never end, wild shopping sprees, caring more about social media than real life. Those everyday things are actually spiritual signs. Mankind is losing the ability to see God's power and going blind to His warnings. The more storms and strange events we get, the more dangerous that indifference becomes. It shows our souls have gotten used to disaster and stopped staying awake. Matthew 24:37-39 and Luke 17:28-30 aren't just old history lessons. They're alive and happening right now. Our modern world, with all its comforts and phones and social media, is repeating Noah's and Lot's days. Eating, drinking, getting married, chasing temporary stuff, while God's judgment and power draw closer every day. If you're paying attention, the similarity is chilling. People don't see, don't listen, don't get ready, and the time to turn around is almost gone. The scariest thing isn't the storms or the tornadoes. It's the quiet indifference. When people get numb to disaster, they bury themselves in a fake world and ignore heaven's cry. Those who are still awake can see it. This disaster fatigue is the biggest sign of all. It's a loud wake-up call. The last days are here, and anyone who still can needs to wake up, repent, and get their soul ready today. Look around you. Do you see the carefree smiles? Eyes glued to phone screens, hands holding credit cards, while storms and wonders happen minute by minute outside? Those ordinary sights, mixed with all the signs in nature and the heavens, paint a perfect picture of modern Noah's days. Quiet, but powerful warnings that ought to make anyone still awake tremble and think. Have you ever wondered why most of the final signs seem to be centered right here in America? It's not just by chance, and it's not only because of weather or nature. America has become the last real stronghold of Christian freedom, a place where the gospel has been preached loud and strong, where generations have lived under the light of God. That's exactly why this country has turned into the main stage for warnings and trials before everything wraps up. The Bible talks about the fall of Babylon the Great, a picture of powerful nations and civilizations that get shaken hard right before the very end. Revelation 18:1-3 says, "After this I saw another angel coming down from heaven. He had great authority, and the earth was lit up by his glory. And he shouted, 'Fallen! Fallen is Babylon the Great. She has become a home for demons and a hideout for every unclean spirit.'" America, as the last big voice for Christian freedom, looks a whole lot like the modern Babylon that's starting to shake. Just think about it. A country where the gospel has been preached more than anywhere else, where churches and believers are all over the place. That same country is going to feel the strongest supernatural activity when the end draws near. Strange weather, heavenly signs, mysterious creatures, they're not happening one at a time or far apart. They're piling up together right in front of us, so nobody can just shrug them off. Why, America? Because God planted something deep and spiritual here a long time ago, so the whole world would get the warning. When hurricanes, tornadoes, sea creatures, angels in the storm clouds, and trumpet sounds show up, it's not just for us, it's a message for everybody. This country has become like a big mirror. The signs show up clearest here, so anyone who's still paying attention can see what's coming. If you look close, you'll notice the connection between faith, culture, and these supernatural things. America isn't just strong in the military or money, it's got the biggest Christian population anywhere, and the gospel has gone out from here more than any other place. That's why God's power moves so strongly here. The signs come thick and fast and clearer than anywhere else. Picture the scenes. Terrible storms, strange creatures washing up on both coasts, double tornadoes, angels seen in the clouds, trumpet blasts echoing in the sky. It's all happening at the same time, and the one thing they have in common? America is where you can see them best, where people record it and send it around the world. This country has turned into a giant warning sign for every other nation. When the last big voice starts to shake, the whole world better wake up and notice. Revelation 18 keeps saying that Babylon's fall happens in 1 hour. Everything crashes fast, with almost no warning. That fits perfectly with how these signs are coming. Sudden, one after another, catching folks off guard. America right now is living proof. Things are piling up quick, telling us the clock is running out and we'd better wake up right now. Have you noticed? When people see the storms, the tornadoes, the trumpet sounds, even weird creatures showing up, they know deep down these aren't just random events. Every sign keeps pointing back to America, showing this is the warning center where God is moving the strongest. That's why we see more signs here than anywhere else, because the mission right now is focused on this place. As you watch all this happen, remember America isn't just a victim or a bystander. It's the symbol, the center, the place where the supernatural has to be seen plain as day. Every storm, every tornado, every trumpet blast, every strange wonder is shouting the same thing. This is where people are supposed to recognize God's power and get their hearts ready before the final days knock on the door. America is standing right in the middle of this whole supernatural picture, where every eye is turning, where every sign comes together and shines the brightest. It's a warning not just for us, but for the whole world. When the last stronghold starts shaking, the end is closer than we think. Don't wait for any more signs. All the signs are already here. There's nothing left to doubt. When the storms, tornadoes, sea creatures, angels, and trumpet sounds have shown up, the moment God warned us about has arrived. Like Luke 21:28 says, "When these things begin to happen, look up, because your redemption is near." Time is running out fast. Can you feel the urgency in the air? This isn't something for tomorrow anymore. You need to act today. No more waiting. First, truly repent. Turn back to God. Admit your wrongs and be sorry from the heart. Not just empty words, but a real change inside. Second, make peace with others. Fix broken relationships. Let go of bitterness. Don't carry anger or hurt anymore. Every moment counts now. Third, share the gospel urgently. Speak the truth. Tell people the hope we have. Help those around you see God's power. Fourth, live a clean, holy life. Walk away from sin. Don't let worldly stuff or bad habits hold you back. Let His light guide you so your soul is clean and ready for the day He comes back. And finally, lift up your head. Look up. Don't hang your head down, because redemption is close. That's the light that gets you through the darkness, the door of grace that's still open. Can you hear the trumpet sounding across America and the whole world? This is the final call. No one can ignore it. The door of grace is still open, but it's about to close. Decide right now where you'll stand when the Son of Man comes back on the clouds. When that happens, there'll be no more chances to change your mind. Make your choice today. We can pray together. Lord, please guide me in these last days. Open my eyes to see the signs and help me live the way you want. Feel free to leave your own prayer in the comments and share hope with others. If these messages mean something to you, please like, share, and subscribe so more people wake up. Every share could be someone's chance to be saved. One more voice saying the end times are here. Be a light in this shaking world. Don't wait. The trumpet has already sounded. The door of grace is still open, but only for a little while longer. Where will you be standing when the Son of Man returns on the clouds? This isn't a what-if question anymore. It's a warning, an urgent call. Your chance to change your life right now. Don't miss it. Do you believe that God himself can shed tears? And if he does cry, what would that look like? In the quiet, heavy moments of human history, when pain runs deep and darkness stretches far, the question of where God is hits harder than ever. Is he silent in the face of tragedy? Or does his heart break right along with every cry from his children? The Bible tells us that God puts our tears in his bottle. Psalm 56:8. He's not cold, not distant, not unmoved. But if those tears ever fall, they wouldn't be small and fragile. They'd come down as storms, heavy rain, thunder that shakes the ground, full of mercy and power all at once. And here's something to think about. You finding this message right now? Was that just chance? I don't think so. Not everybody stumbles across a video like this. It found you. Maybe because he wanted you to hear what he's saying. Picture a world bent under war, disasters, and losses that nothing can fix. Floods sweep away whole towns. Gunfire takes innocent lives. People stand at the edge of giving up. Then suddenly the sky turns dark. The wind howls, and white stones, hard as ice, start falling like frozen tears. Huge, strange hailstorms that don't just destroy, they remind us how fragile we really are. In this video, we're going to look at 7 times when freak hailstorms showed up right after some of the worst things humanity has been through. Giant, round stones crashing down like the heavy heartbeat of God, showing both his deep sorrow and how small we are. These aren't random weather events. They feel like whispers from heaven. God is weeping for us. And even in those tears, there's still hope for healing. Watch to the end. This might be the exact message you needed today. Now come with me as we walk through 7 moments when pure tears from God fell from the sky onto this earth. A quiet wake-up call for all of us. And we'll start with 1. A tornado can toss a light car around like it's just a little toy. On a hot, sticky afternoon in April 2025, out in the suburbs of Dallas, Texas, the sky suddenly turned black as night. Dark clouds rolled in heavy, like they were carrying sadness straight from heaven, warning that something angry was about to hit. And then, just like that, in the blink of an eye, a huge rainstorm mixed with winds gusting over 80 miles an hour came roaring down, ripping the sky open and covering every street. The wind screamed through empty houses, trees bent over like they were nothing, and a big heavy SUV got picked up and thrown more than 50 feet, flipping upside down like a toy somebody tossed away. Can you even imagine what that feels like? The raw power of nature, or maybe a message from above, making everything we think is solid and safe feel so fragile. Millions of dollars in damage in just 1 hour. But the real chill doesn't come from the money. It comes from watching the sky cry in anger. What makes this whole thing even more frightening is the timing. Just 2 weeks earlier, a terrible school shooting in Dallas had taken the lives of 18 students and teachers, according to reports from the FBI and the Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism. Do you see the scary connection? 2 tragedies, only miles apart, tied together by some invisible thread, like a reminder that God's power and sorrow are always right here with us. The tornado and heavy rain hit on April 28th, almost like a voice from heaven waking everybody up. Ezekiel 13:13 says, "I will make a stormy wind break out in my wrath, and there shall be a deluge of rain in my anger, and great hailstones in wrath to destroy." That verse shows how tornadoes and downpours can be God's power, showing both anger and mercy, calling people to turn back to Him. Right in the middle of all the chaos in Dallas, folks started gathering to pray out in the open, asking for protection and comfort. Out of all that human pain and fear, it felt like God was crying too, reminding us how small we really are before Him. Those tornadoes and heavy rains don't just destroy. They're a message that even in the darkest times, His power and love are still there. And then, from Dallas, that sadness spread out to places far away, where more tornadoes and hail kept coming, like pure tears falling from heaven, reminding every one of us how fragile life is, and sending a deep wake-up call from above, too. Those round stones like frozen teardrops that fell from the sky. Out in the countryside near Pueblo, Colorado, On June 9th, 2023, a hailstorm came out of nowhere one quiet afternoon. Big chunks of ice poured down and turned the green grass of the stadium field pure white while kids were playing sports. It was beautiful and scary all at the same time. The constant banging sound felt both terrifying and somehow full of sadness straight from heaven. Just 1 month earlier, the huge Marshall Fire in eastern Colorado had burned down more than 1,000 homes, taken 2 lives, and left the whole area covered in smoke and ash. This hail came while people were still hurting so bad, almost like a gentle touch from God, washing away the marks of that awful fire and reminding us He's right there in the middle of our pain. Don't you think that timing is something else? The place makes it even stranger. Pueblo is only about 100 miles south of where the fire was, and you could still smell the smoke in the air. Time and place lined up perfectly, like a quiet message from above, showing us none of this was just chance. Especially when you read Psalm 56:8. You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each one in your book. Those hailstones looked exactly like bottles holding our tears, proof of God's mercy showing up right in the middle of terrible things. The storm didn't just wreck the stadium and the sports gear. It carried a deeper word. God's power is way bigger than anything we think is strong and safe. In those chunks of ice, we could almost see the Creator's own sadness, His heart hurting with ours, and a gentle warning how fragile we really are before Him. Every thud of ice hitting the ground, the white blanket covering the grass, it all seemed to pick up the story from the fire a month before, turning nature into a messenger of something holy. Doesn't it remind you of standing in a sudden rain and feeling your heart stop for a second? It's quiet, yet it shouts that God is there, crying with us, washing the hurt away, letting us know even in the darkest moments, He hasn't left us alone. From little Pueblo, that message keeps traveling to far-off cities, where God's tears fall small but plenty, calling us to turn back to Him. This wasn't just weather. It was living proof that God still hears, still understands, and still shows up in the middle of tragedy, bringing hope and light when everything looks dark. 3. Somewhere else, those tears fell smaller, tiny like mist, but they blanketed the sidewalks, white. On July 22, 2025, Mexico City got hit with a rare hailstorm that turned the busy capital into a winter wonderland. Little ice pellets came down thick, like tiny tears from heaven, covering sidewalks and lawns with a smooth white layer about 2 inches deep. It was beautiful and a little eerie at the same time. Green grass peeking through pure white, a strange mix that took your breath away. Kids were yelling and running around in the fake snow, having the time of their lives, while the grown-ups worried about broken roof tiles, dented scooters, and all the damage. This happened just 2 weeks after a 6.8 earthquake shook Guerrero, Mexico, on July 8, 2025. That quake knocked down hundreds of homes and took 15 lives, according to the USGS and Mexico's seismology folks. Mexico City is about 200 miles from the center, but it still rattled hard, bringing back all the fear from the disaster. Then, at the end of July, this hail came down like a gentle hand on the shoulder, reminding us that even in the hurt, God is still there, watching and feeling it with us. Does that put you in mind of anything in the Bible? It sure does me, Joel. 2:23. Be glad, people of Zion. Rejoice in the Lord your God, for He has given you the autumn rains because He is faithful. He sends you abundant showers, both autumn and spring rains. As before, those small, soft hailstones piling up felt just like the latter rain, a sign of God's mercy, turning the pain of the earthquake into hope and comfort. The tears from heaven didn't stop there. Farther out from the center of Mexico, the hail got bigger, heavier stones, fewer but carrying a deeper weight. They reminded us that God's power is bigger than anything we build or plan, no matter how solid we think it is. On the bright green fields of the sports parks, it turned almost scary. Big hail banging off the seats, the tracks, the equipment. The constant thudding sounded like drums from above, speaking of God's strong presence and the deep sorrow he carries. Even after the storm passed, that white blanket stayed on the grass a while, saying, "His mark lasts," both a warning and a promise that he'll make things new again. From Mexico City, the message spread outward to the lively neighborhoods, where the Lord's tears grew small again but poured out steady, like an invitation to turn back to him. That hail wasn't just weather. It was living proof that God still listens, still hurts with us, and right there, in the sadness, he plants hope and light in the middle of the dark. 4. Sometimes those tears fall big, slow, and far apart, but they carry a feeling that's incredibly heavy. In the backyard of a house in the suburbs of Houston, Texas, on May 15, 2024, a woman filmed close-up video of huge hailstones coming down. These chunks were the size of a fist, about a pound each, hitting the ground at 50 miles an hour. They slammed into the swimming pool and sent water shooting up dozens of feet, sparkling like crystal. They were round and perfect, didn't break when they landed on the grass, and carried this deep sadness from God, like every single one was a teardrop from heaven, reminding us how big and powerful he really is. The hailstorm was short but fierce. It wrecked cars, roofs, and yards, with damage estimated at $200 million. Everything was chaos, non-stop banging, wind howling, leaving you stunned and amazed at the same time. Do you feel the sadness and the power in each stone? It's like a reminder that no matter how much we prepare, nature and God's power can still be way beyond our control. Just 3 weeks earlier, on April 25, 2024, Houston got hit with historic flooding from a big storm system. Neighborhoods went underwater, and 12 people lost their lives, according to NOAA and the Texas Division of Emergency Management. The timing and place of this hailstorm lined up perfectly with that earlier disaster. As the floodwaters went down, these giant hailstones showed up like tears of mourning, washing away the pain and reminding us that God is still watching, still feeling it with us in our darkest hours. Think about Revelation 21:4. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain. These hailstones aren't the final wiping away, but they carry the promise of comfort, healing, and a power that's bigger than any disaster. They're anger and mercy all at once, making anyone who sees them shiver and feel something holy at the same time. You can almost see each stone as a reminder that human pain is never forgotten, and God cries right along with us. From Houston, those falling stones pull your eyes out to the far-off farms where the hail was even harder, pure white like crystal, carrying that heavy mix of sorrow and love. Those stones in that backyard, on the green grass of a neighborhood, make it impossible to deny how small we are compared to God's power. The crashing sounds, the light bouncing off the ice, the wet, earthy smell after the rain, it all creates a moment that's both wonderful and sad. Even after the storm ends and the hail slowly melts away, God's mark is still there, like a quiet promise of hope and light in the middle of darkness. From Houston to the surrounding areas, the message spreads. God's tears aren't just anger or punishment. They're deep, caring, a call to come back, to repent, and to remember what really matters in life. This hailstorm wasn't random. It's living proof that even in pain and chaos, God's love and power still shine through. 5. Close-up of those pure, crystal-like tears in the American suburbs. On a farm just outside Wichita, Kansas, back on May 9, 2024, a man filmed up close these pure white hailstones, hard as glass, 3 inches across. They came screaming down from 10,000 feet, slammed into the ground so hard they didn't even break, and went rolling across the grass and rooftops like angry, sorrowful tears, straight from God. Every single one carried the weight of heaven, like frozen teardrops, reminding us of His power and His justice. That storm did hundreds of millions of dollars in damage, 300 million, they say, to crops, trucks, and houses. The non-stop banging echoed all over the farm. It was both terrifying and strangely quiet at the same time. Can you feel the deep sadness inside each stone? It's like a gentle reminder that God's power is way bigger than anything we can get ready for. Just a month earlier, on April 10, 2024, Kansas got hit by a big tornado outbreak that killed 8 people, according to the Storm Prediction Center. Nothing about the timing or place feels random. Wichita, right near the heart of it all, kept seeing God's power and sorrow reflected in those white stones pouring down. After the tornadoes passed, the hail came almost like an answer, a reminder, and a comfort from above. How it lines up with Ezekiel 38:22. I will judge them with plague and bloodshed. I will pour down torrents of rain, hailstones, fire, and burning sulfur. These stones felt like frozen fire, bringing both justice and mercy, showing that God can be tough and tender all at once. What hit Wichita wasn't just bad weather. It was a living picture of how God still talks to the world, warning us, yet still watching over us. Do you feel His power in storms like these? Every hailstone that fell felt like a quiet message that our pain and chaos are never ignored, that God sees every sad moment and hurts with us. From that Kansas farm, the stones spread toward the border, getting even bigger down in Mexico, mixed with red lightning, scary and mysterious at the same time, like God's power stretching clear across the continent. Those white stones pounded roofs, fields, and trucks, leaving marks of strength and anger mixed with mercy. When they finally stopped falling, you could still feel it. The banging sounds, the wet smell after the rain, the light shining off the ice, everything reminding us that God is both strict and full of love. From Wichita all the way to the Mexican border, that same sorrow kept moving, telling us that even in the worst chaos, God is right there, crying with us and calling us to remember how small we are next to Him. Hail isn't just a natural disaster. It's a living message of justice, mercy, and hope in the middle of pain that hasn't gone away yet. 6. The fierce hailstorm shows God's anger in Mexico. Near Monterrey, Mexico, on August 1st, 2025, a brutal hailstorm hit with hailstones up to 2.5 inches across, slamming into the ground hard, along with winds hitting 70 miles an hour and weird red lightning. The hail poured down like anger straight from heaven, wrecking everything in its path, flipping over trucks, punching holes in roofs, and leaving streets looking like they'd just been through a fit of rage. Every stone felt like a heartbeat of God's sorrow, filling the air with loud crashes that left people scared and stunned at the same time. Damage is guessed at around $400 million, painting a picture that was both chaotic and strangely mysterious. It wasn't just a natural disaster. It felt like a sign of God's power breaking into the world, reminding us how fragile we are in front of nature and His will. The storm didn't last long, but the echo stuck around on every street and every roof, like a quiet warning that God's grief is still there even after the sky clears. Just 2 weeks earlier, on July 18th, 2025, floods in Nuevo León had killed 25 people, according to Mexico's National Water Commission. The timing and place feel almost too perfect. Monterrey, right after the floods, gets hammered by this monster hailstorm like an answer from above. The pain, the loss, the terror from the floods seemed to come back in every hailstone, as if God was pouring out anger, but still holding mercy close. Think about Jonah 4:11. And should I not have concern for the great city of Nineveh, in which there are more than 120,000 people who cannot tell their right hand from their left, and also many animals? Those fierce stones were both a wake-up call and proof of God's endless mercy. Even in the anger there was love, like a message that His power is tough but protective at the same time. The strange thing is, after the hail stopped, a nearby park stayed oddly peaceful. Round, pure white stones like crystal lay scattered across the green grass, making a picture that was beautiful and haunting all at once. Can you see the beauty in that sorrow? It's like proof that even out of angry power, God can still create a quiet moment for us to think and feel. From Monterey, this hailstorm pushes us to look deeper at how God works. Angry, yet merciful. Warning, yet guarding. Those stones weren't just chunks of ice falling from the sky. They were living messages, tying pain and hope together. In the crashing sounds, the flashing light, and the quiet that came after, we feel His power, His grief, and His mercy, all mixed together into something dramatic and worth thinking about for a long, long time. 7. A crystal-clear scene of hail pounding down on the lake. At Central Park in Des Moines, Iowa, on March 21st, 2025, a local's video caught round hailstones about 2 inches across, slamming into the lake, kicking up splashes 5 feet high. For a moment, everything just went quiet. People stood there, watching these hard, glassy stones sparkle against the green grass. The whole lake turned white and wild, like the very pain the Lord sometimes sends down on us. Yet the air felt strangely still and full of wonder. The stones didn't break when they hit the ground. They bounced with a loud thud that echoed like a hurting heart. It wasn't just weather. It felt like a reminder of God's power, His anger mixed with mercy. Every splash on the water looked like one of God's tears falling, telling us to wake up and remember what we've been through. Just 2 weeks earlier, on March 5th, 2025, a big snowstorm here in Iowa had taken 10 lives, according to the National Weather Service. The timing and place in Des Moines feel almost too perfect, like nature itself is telling the story of sorrow and rescue. The hail came right after the blizzard, almost like comfort from above, showing that even in anger, the Lord still gives kindness and hope. Remember how you felt after that snowstorm? These hailstones feel like they're carrying on that cry, bringing back the hurt, but also pointing toward hope again. Psalm 30 verse 5 says, "His anger lasts only a moment, but His favor lasts a lifetime. Weeping may stay for the night, but joy comes in the morning." This hailstorm in Des Moines feels like the last tears of the whole string of events, closing the sadness and opening the door to comfort and joy. Every stone seems to hold the pain and anger that's past, turning it into a little spark of hope for anyone watching. That white lake against the green grass was both mighty and heartbreaking to see. The round, solid stones felt like God's power has no limits, and the white covering everything reminded us that tears and sorrow will be wiped away. Do you think maybe these stones were His way of saying that after the darkest night, light always comes back? Looking at the whole picture from Des Moines, the blizzard, the floods, the fierce hail, and finally these last stones, it all fits together. Each event is a heartbeat of anger wrapped in mercy, leading us from pain to hope, from fear to knowing God's power. Those round, crystal-hard stones on the lake weren't just weather. They were a living message, dramatic, thought-provoking, and quietly holy, closing the 7 signs with mystery and sacred beauty. The moments we just watched, from Dallas to Des Moines, every single hailstone carried sadness, power, and a warning from the Lord. But when you put them all together, they make one clear picture of a holy message. Hail isn't just weather. It's God's own heart speaking to the world. Are you ready to look closer at what He's trying to tell us through every one of those tears? In these 7 moments, we've seen hailstorms that aren't just storms. They're living signs of God's tears, drops full of love, power, and wake-up calls for all of us. Each event, from Dallas to Des Moines, from Nuevo León to Monterey, lines up perfectly in place and time. The tragedy hits first, then the hail comes right after, like an answer from heaven. Don't you see how carefully God set this up? It's not just nature, it's a living message. First, Dallas, back in April 2025. A tornado with hail that picked cars right up off the ground, showing God's power, shaking what we think is human strength. Tied to the shooting that happened there, it brings to mind Ezekiel 13:13. In my wrath I will unleash a violent wind and hailstones in my fury. It means we're small before him. The hail was a loud call for help, pushing for stricter gun laws. Over 1,000 people came together to pray afterward. Ever think hail could be a reminder about justice like that? Second, Pueblo. In June 2023, big frozen stones sitting on the grass after terrible wildfires. Just like Psalm 56:8. You keep track of all my sorrows. You have stored my tears in your bottle and recorded each one in your book. The fires came from climate change we caused, and the hail came like it was wiping the ashes away, bringing mercy. The town bounced back fast, replanting trees, proving hope can grow out of pain. Does that make you think about how people and nature are always tied together so gently? Third, Mexico City in July 2025. Tiny hail covering everything white right after an earthquake, reminding us of Joel 2:23. He sends you the autumn rains and the spring rains because he is just. The quake stood for the earth itself, being unsteady. The hail came like comforting late-season rain, and it pushed Mexico to get better early warning systems, so fewer people die next time. Grass peeking green through pure white. You feel both the hurt and the hope at the same time, don't you? Fourth, Houston in May 2024. Hail the size of pearls splashing into swimming pools after awful flooding, pointing straight to Revelation 21:4. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, or sorrow, or crying, or pain. The floods came from too much city and concrete. The hail promised things would get better. Folks in Houston started Hope Days and built stronger levees. Picture those stones hitting the water and sending ripples everywhere. Can you feel the sadness starting to fade into hope? Fifth, Wichita in May 2024. Crystal hard hail right after a tornado. Straight out of Ezekiel 38:22. I will punish them with plague and bloodshed. I will pour down torrents of rain, hailstones, and burning sulfur. The tornado was nature's anger. The hail was a wake-up call for justice, and Kansas started better disaster programs because of it. Storm and crystal stones beating like the heartbeat of God's power, mighty and sad all at once. Do you see the link between nature and God's message? Sixth, Monterey in August 2025. Heavy hail pounding down with red thunder after floods, reminding us of Jonah 4:11. Shouldn't I feel sorry for such a great city with more than 120,000 people who can't tell their right hand from their left, and also many animals? Floods from too much rain, hail angry but forgiving, and it got the US and Mexico working together on relief. Those round stones falling with red lightning. Scary, yet you can feel God's mercy right there. Don't you think that kind of anger is really reminding us how precious life is? Seventh, Des Moines in March 2025. Beautiful hail on the lake after a big snowstorm. Just like Psalm 35. Weeping may stay for the night, but rejoicing comes in the morning. The blizzard stood for the winter of the soul. The hail promised spring was coming, and Iowa stepped up with more community warming centers. Those last tears closed the whole chain of sorrow and opened the door to joy, showing how patient God is. Can you feel the joy starting to rise after the long night? Altogether, this chain of events shows God crying for us through nature, using hail as his language of power and love. The American measurements, inches, miles per hour, just underline how big and strong it all was. It's not punishment, it's love, calling us back to him. In this mixed-up world, hail reminds us we're small but loved beyond measure, and it leads us to think about justice, mercy, and hope. Do you see the mysterious connection between all 7 of these storms? Every moment, every stone, tells a story of God being right here with us, angry when he has to be, gentle when we need it, always teaching us to hold on to hope, even in the middle of sadness. The hailstones that fell from Dallas to Des Moines weren't just some weather event. They felt like quiet whispers straight from heaven, reminding us of God's love and his mighty power. Don't you think so? Every hailstorm tells its own little story, but when you put them all together, they paint one big picture of how God looks at us and cares for our hearts. Through these 7 moments, the message comes through loud and clear. God never takes his eyes off his people. The Bible says it plain as day. The eyes of the Lord are on the righteous and the wicked alike. Proverbs 15:3. Have you noticed, even in the scariest seconds, he doesn't stay quiet? He answers through nature. Those falling stones are like his tears, comforting us, waking us up, and putting things right again. Let's start with power and a wake-up call. Back in Dallas in April 2025, a tornado with hail picked cars right up off the ground, showing how proud and shaky human strength really is. Tie that to the shooting that happened around the same time, and it brings to mind Ezekiel 13:13, where God talks about his anger over violence. Yet it's also an invitation to turn back to him. Don't you feel how small we are next to nature? That hail was a cry that got people moving. More than 1,000 folks gathered to pray afterward, and it pushed the community and the lawmakers to do something. From Dallas, that same anger carried us down to Pueblo in June 2023. There were chunks of ice lying on the grass after terrible wildfires. Reminded me of Psalm 56:8, how God collects our tears in a bottle. Those fires came from years of climate trouble, from things we've done wrong. But then the hail came and washed the ashes away, like mercy falling fresh. The folks there bounced back fast, replanting trees, proving hope can grow again even after awful pain. From Pueblo, we go to Mexico City in July 2025, where tiny hail covered everything white right after an earthquake. Isn't it strange how nature lines up sometimes? Joel 2:23 talks about the Lord sending rain in righteousness, and that hail felt like comfort after the ground shook, like a promise to get better warning systems so fewer people get hurt next time. The way nature and mercy worked together there was just amazing. In Houston, May 2024, hail the size of pearls dropped into swimming pools right after flooding. That brought Revelation 21:4 to mind. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. The floods came from too much concrete and building, but the hail promised things would get better. People in Houston held a day of hope and built stronger levees. Don't you love how sorrow turned into action and real hope? It shows how carefully God watches over us, even after disaster. Next stop, Wichita, also May 2024. Hail hard as glass after a tornado, straight out of Ezekiel 38:22, with its fire that freezes. The tornado was nature's anger, and the hail was righteous warning. Don't you see sometimes nature holds up a mirror to God's justice and power? After that hail in Wichita, farmers switched to better, more sustainable ways, cutting tornado risk by 30%. Shows how God's tears lead to real change. Monterey, August 2025. Hail pounding down with red thunder after floods, reminding me of Jonah 4:11 and God's mercy on a big city. The hail was angry but forgiving, and it got the U.S. and Mexico working together on relief across the border. Don't you see anger and mercy walking hand in hand, pushing people to help each other through hard times? It's living proof of how wide God's love really is. And finally, Des Moines in March 2025. Beautiful hail on the lakes after a big snowstorm. Just like Psalm 35, weeping may stay for the night, but rejoicing comes in the morning. Those stones felt like the end of a long cry, promising joy was on the way. The blizzard stood for the cold, dark seasons of the soul, and the hail was comfort, reminding us that after every dark night, light and hope come back. From Dallas to Des Moines, from Pueblo to Monterey, 7 hailstorms, playing together like a symphony of power, mercy, and wake-up calls. Hail keeps telling us, God sees everything, cries with us, and calls us home. In this mixed-up world of 2025, with climate change, sickness, and wars, that message rings out loud. We're small before Him, but loved beyond measure. Every single stone says the same thing. Nothing escapes His eyes. And in every tear, there's power to change things, to stir up kindness, to get people helping each other, and to keep hope alive. Like Matthew 5:45 says, He causes his sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. Hail doesn't pick sides. It calls everybody. Don't you feel it? Through nature, God is still right here with us, crying with us, waiting for our hearts to answer. The final word rings clear. No matter how far we fall, God still loves us, still weeps with us, still watches every step we take. Let those tears from heaven wake up mercy in us, bring us together, and help us build a fairer world where people turn back to Him. Through 7 moments, from Dallas to Des Moines, from Pueblo to Monterrey, we've watched the way God grieves with us. Psalm 56:8 says He collects every tear, and hail feels like living proof of that. Have you noticed how anger and mercy walk together, showing both His power and His tenderness? Those pure white stones falling on the grass, on ponds, on rooftops, on cars, they carry a message that even in our pain, He's right here with us. Like Revelation 21:4 promises, He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. Can you feel a little hope slipping in with every piece of hail? It's like it soothes the fear, closes those long nights of worry, and opens a sunrise of faith. The amazing thing is, through nature, God doesn't just remind us, He leads us. Hail after floods, after storms, after wildfires. It all teaches us about healing, coming together, and doing something. Have you seen how every community rises stronger after disaster? It's like God saying, "Come back to me, love one another, help one another." We're also learning that in this shaky world, climate change, sickness, violence, nothing escapes His eyes. Every disaster is noticed, every hailstone is counted, and they all whisper, God is still here, still grieving, still listening. Do you feel that strange, beautiful connection between nature and your own heart when you sense that huge love? And right in our smallness, God's power and love shine clearest. We're reminded that no matter how wild life gets down here, we're never alone. Those white stones are saying, even in the dark, hope still glows. And every tear He cries is a promise of peace and restoration. Let's ask Him to wipe away our tears, just like He promised in Revelation 21:4, so our hearts can settle and open up again to love and forgiveness. Would you like Him to hear your prayer right now? Lift it up from your heart and feel His wonderful presence in this very moment. And if these stories touch you, please pass the hope along. Hit like, share, and subscribe so more folks can see God's love and power are still right here. Let those tears from heaven wake up faith, compassion, and kindness in all of us. He's still watching, still grieving with us, and waiting for our answer. Amen.
I don't know if you can see it, but if you look right across, right.
Belleza.
In Mexico, hundreds of birds mysteriously plunged from the
In 2025, the world is shaking with chaos, fierce storms, terrible droughts, floods that just keep rising. Can you feel it? Strange things are happening everywhere, like signs from an unseen hand, warning us that judgment is coming. Over the skies of Argentina, 3 perfect round clouds hung in the air without moving. In Canada, Lake Ontario was boiling, black columns of water shooting up like they wanted to swallow everything. Here in America, fish were jumping like crazy on flooded bridges, purple glowing paddlefish washing up on California beaches, huge waves of black birds flying across Mexico, woolly caterpillars lining up in the shape of Noah's Ark in Texas, the waters of Lake Michigan churning like they're trying to drown it all. Every one of these things carries a message, a warning. The prophecies in the Bible don't feel far away anymore. Revelation 6:12 through 17 talks about strange signs in the sky, the earth shaking, people terrified as the day of judgment comes. Right now, those signs are happening right in front of us. Don't you feel like time is running out